In this video, I want to talk to you guys about storytelling. Now, the concept of storytelling has had different, definitions or interpretations or whatever. And sometimes I feel like, it's people complicate storytelling more than like it actually really is. Don't get me wrong, there are different sort of methodologies or frameworks for telling, great stories. But at the center of it is that there's three core elements to it. And I'm going to talk to you about those three core elements. Now, you can take those three core elements and then scale them into different things or other sub elements in that sense. But it always comes down to these three core elements. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. So without, further ado, like they say, let's get straight into it. Now, in order for us to be able to talk about storytelling, you must understand that the concept of storytelling in marketing or in advertising, um, whatever, it stems from cinema, right? It stems from cinema, and we have to go back to cinema to see how they tell stories and figure out how we take those principles or concepts and introduce them into marketing or advertising. Now, whether it is Nollywood or it is, Hollywood or it is Bollywood, it doesn't quite matter. The point is, um, when it comes to storytelling, there are these three core elements that you would find across whatever, wood you are looking at, and it's consistent across board. So I want to encourage you, like, just stick with me and I'll show you what these three core elements are. We have to go back to cinema to look at it and see how these guys have done it over the years. The other thing as well is that it's not just in terms of movies, right? And like your classic, 2 hour movie or an hour 45 minutes movie. It's also when you look at the series, because you have to ask yourself a question like, how are these guys able to hold attention? Take, for example, Game of Thrones. How are these guys able to hold attention for like for years in some cases? Some of this series go as long as, maybe like 15 seasons or whatever number of seasons. If you look at Avengers Endgame as an example, or the Avengers franchise, is that there's multiple stories being told, by these different, characters or whatever. But it's like when you bring all of them together again, they're still able to tell a very cohesive story. And I'm asking myself, like, what is what is the core concept to how these guys tell these kinds of really, really great stories? And then it comes down to this very simple storytelling framework. Now, like, again, you might have other frameworks or methodologies or whatever it is, but everything comes down to this basic story framework: character, conflict, and reward. These are the core elements: character, conflict, reward. Is that in every story, when you strip it down to the bare bones, it comes down to there's a character that encounters a conflict on a way to a reward. Now, it could be more than one character, it could be more than one conflict, it could be more than one reward. But the point is, it will go through this three core framework, these three core elements. And that's what I want to pass across to you guys today, is that regardless of, what, where you are in advertising or marketing, every time you think about storytelling or you are looking at any piece of work that claims to be using or leveraging storytelling, you have to ask yourself, where are these three core elements? Where is the character? Where's the conflict? And where's the reward? And there's a few examples that we can look at, even though we're not going to spend too much time on that. Is that if you look, for example, at Airtel's life without data, you know, pen, is that you find this, character that was stuck. It's going to play this very. So you find this character who is this gentleman here who finds himself somewhere on the beach, somewhere, and he is stranded. This is our main character. We are being introduced to this character in what is referred to as high drama. And the point with this, story that the brand was telling here is that you have this character who is stuck on this island, the main conflict, and he tries different things to try to get himself off the island. Whether it is smoke signals, whether it was putting a letter in a bottle, whether he tried everything. So that's the closing, scene where he finally gets himself to this group of people who obviously then help him to get off, this place this island where he's stuck, so to speak. Now, so for me, it's like that this is your classic, and no wonder this work went on to win, some awards, and it's always been cited in different, conversations. It's because, like, it captures that, simple storytelling framework. There's a character, there's a conflict, and there's a reward. So whether we are talking, let me just go back to these guys. Whether we're talking Omogeto, the saga with Funke Akindele, there's a character, or in this case, there's two main characters, even though Lefty, if you're not familiar with this, I apologize, but it's a main character who encounters a conflict and eventually earns a reward. With James Bond as well, there's a character, there's a series of conflicts, and then gets the reward. And then RRR, if you don't know what this is, please, I apologize as well. It's a Bollywood blockbuster. All of these movies are blockbusters, and when you look at how they are able to tell the kind of stories they tell in the way that it connected with the audience so deeply, it all still stems from this basic framework. This basic framework of having a character, conflict, and reward. Now, again, as I said, there are different there are different extensions or expansion to this basic framework, as you can imagine. But I'm introducing this to you as like your storytelling 101. Is that so? If I were to tell a story right now, for example, if I told you there's a friend of mine, her name is Mary. Mary was diagnosed very early on, with a with some kind of condition, and this condition is a heart condition that would require some form of a transplant. Now you can imagine that this affected Mary in very intense ways. Like Mary, even back in school, the different sorts of episodes she would have, having the authorities would have to rush her to the hospital. Even after we left school, getting a job and getting married, all of these things almost became, slightly difficult for Mary just because of this heart condition. And as you know, is that to find a donor for these things is not the easiest thing. To it was a very challenging situation for her. Even as friends, I dare say that that sort of secondhand emotion that you feel for somebody who is having to deal with something in particular. Like every time I have to talk about it, it's something that always gets to me. But I think it was a few years ago, by some sheer miracle, Mary got this got a donor for her, and it's been 4 years, I think 5 years now since the transplant, and Mary has been living a very healthy life, a very healthy lifestyle. I think it was a month or 2 months ago that I got an invite from her that she's about to get married. You know, and it's really touching story. So I'm just going to pause there. And right there is how you tell stories. I introduced the character to you, Mary, who is a friend of mine. Number two is then I then introduced the conflicts in terms of the challenges with school, getting married and settling down, everything she had to deal with, in the course of her life journey. Those are the conflicts, and at the end of that is the reward is that she's living a very healthy lifestyle. She's about to get married, and right there is how you tell the story. No need to complicate it. No need to, at least at the foundation of storytelling. This is what it is. So I want to encourage you. The next time you want to tell a story, introduce the character, introduce the conflicts, and introduce the reward. I hope that this kind of really helps you put storytelling in perspective. Thank you for staying up until this point, and definitely I'll see you guys in the next one.